What if I told you that it was a group of ladies that changed the narrative, that totally reshaped the perspective of the Civil War? That's exactly what happened with The Lost Cause. The Lost Cause is a historical narrative developed by white Southerners after the Civil War. Its purpose, to declare that the Confederacy was noble. The South claims that the Confederate cause of the Civil War was to defend the Southern way of life. But let's be clear, the Southern way of life meant to continue chattel slavery and extend it into new territories. The narrative created consisted of three primary points. One, that the Confederate fight was heroic. We need to keep that in mind because we saw something similar here in our own lifetime. Two, that enslaved people were happy, as if they were in some form of benevolent relationship. And three, that slavery was not the cause of the Civil War. The Lost Cause was one of the world's most successful efforts at changing a narrative. The masterminds behind it all, the Daughters of the Confederacy. The Daughters of the Confederacy were social and political elites who used their leverage to spread the pro-version of the war, what they called the real history. It was the Daughters of the Confederacy's primary responsibility for all of the memorials and statues of Confederate leaders and soldiers that you see spread out all throughout the South. Their ability to raise funds and to lobby positioned them to put pressure on local governments to erect Confederate statues in prominent public places, places like courthouses and capitals. They've even had a statue erected at the Arlington National Cemetery. They memorialized every space they deemed relevant to the Confederacy. Their efforts were prominent from after the Civil War well into the 20th century. Realizing that generation of men were dying off, they implemented another strategy to preserve their honor. Their next tool, textbooks. That strategy was to teach the future generation about the Civil War. It was a strategic, deliberate approach to shape how Southern children viewed the Civil War. For a standard, they used what's called a measuring rod for textbooks, written by Milford Rutherford, a pro-slavery author, and they had former Confederate generals on the review committee. These people instructed school boards to reject all books that didn't afford full justice to the South. They also had libraries deface books deemed not meeting up to their standard by stamping unjust to the South clearly on the cover. This standard was spread all throughout the South, and it was monitored closely to ensure that no Northern influence got anywhere near their classrooms. You can clearly see how the narrative was changed in the book History of Georgia, written in 1954. That book was utilized to teach junior high school for decades. A good book that I would recommend for your Black History library is Dixie Daughters by Dr. Karen Cox. Before we wrap up today, I want to make sure you don't miss this opportunity. The stories we've covered are just the beginning. At unlockingblackhistory.com, you can dive deeper with our free community, exclusive content, and a workbook designed to help you reflect and grow. Don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on the notifications so you don't miss the next chapter. I'll see you at the next video.